Welcome into the San Francisco 49ers Report. Chase Sr. here with you. And as always, no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day. And it's a good post-game reaction show coming your way right here on the program. 49ers beat the New York Giants in Week 9 today at MetLife Stadium in the Meadowlands by a final score of 34-24. The Niners moved to 6-3 on the year. NFL trade deadline is coming up on Tuesday. The difference between being 6-3 or 5-4, which is what the Niners would have fallen to with the loss today, it's massive. And the NFC right now is completely wide open, which is why I expect and I hope that John Lynch and the Niners are aggressive going into the deadline. You saw an offense have its best game of the season today, putting up 34 points. You saw some defensive improvements from that disaster last week. The unfortunate news, Mykel Williams going down with a knee injury. He didn't look to be in good spirits walking off the field. If that's another defensive end who goes down for this Niners defense and Robert Saleh, with all of the injuries that have happened at that position specifically and on this defense in totality, that further means that John Lynch must make a move. And obviously, the big reporting that we talked about during our pregame show today, thanks to everybody who watched our watch party, is that the Cincinnati Bengals are now making Trey Hendrickson available. If he's available, a player like that, of that caliber, it's time for John Lynch to go after a player like that. But let's talk about the game at hand here. This Niners win over the New York Giants. I know that the Giants are a 2-win football team. They are now 2-7 on the year, but the Niners badly needed a win in what up to this point was their biggest game of the season. And Kyle Shanahan said a couple of days ago, we felt embarrassed and still feel embarrassed by what happened against Houston. When they were out-physicaled, when they got their asses kicked, when they were beaten up by that Texans team. And he had said, I can't wait to get to New York to play this game, to get this bad taste out of our mouths. That flight back from New York all the way to the Bay Area, it's going to be a good one for the Niners because this was a much-needed win, and this was a very impressive win. The Niners putting up 380 total yards. Mac Jones throws for 221 of them through the air. The big one here, and I'll expand on this in a moment, the Niners run for $159 as a team. They put up 5.8 yards per play, and a week after they were awful on third downs, they go 6 of 11 on third downs, and they were also really efficient in the red zone, which is going to increase their red zone touchdown scoring percentage, which obviously was big in this game as well. The defense holds New York to 296 yards of total offense, 179 yards through the air, 117 on the ground. 5.3 yards per play is a little bit too high, but after struggling early, especially on that first drive of the game, Niners defense able to get off the field on third downs, holding Jackson Dart and the Giants to 5 of 12 on third down conversions. And this is another reason why you have to subscribe to the show, because we're always giving you informative, insightful, entertaining, thought-provoking Niners coverage. I had talked about this all week, mentioned it in our preview with our Giants host Marshall Green. I discussed this in the pregame show. This was a game that I thought was going to be a run-heavy game for San Francisco. This was a game where I thought the Niners offensively would rely on Christian McCaffrey. And I thought Kyle Shanahan was going to approach this game like he did that Falcons game, where he said throughout game preparations all week going into the Atlanta game, we want to run it 30 to 40 times in the ball game because we wanted to play smash mouth, downhill, bully ball football. That's what the Niners did against Atlanta, and they beat them up in the trenches. They ran a lot more power runs and gap runs instead of the outside zone. Well, this was a game where I thought it was going to have a similar type of feel, where really early on, the Niners were going to try to establish the ground game because entering today, and these numbers not going to be much better for this Giants defense, New York came into today 32nd, dead last in the NFL defensively in yards per carry given up, dead last in EPA per rush, 32nd in success rate. Well, what do the Niners do as a team? Christian McCaffrey has his second best running game of the season, 28 carries, 106 yards, a rushing touchdown, 3.8 yards per carry, not great. And of course, he was dynamic in the pass game once again, 5 catches for 67. He got involved. He was really good. But how about what Brian Robinson did, including an 18-yard rushing touchdown where Bully Ball B-Rob was able to put the truck stick on a Giants defender? 5 carries for 53 yards and a rushing touchdown for him. 10.6 yards per carry on the ground. Also gave this Niners team some juice as a returner via the kickoff, and he's been doing that over the last couple of weeks. And so the Niners as a team, against one of the worst rushing defenses in the NFL, they run it 39 times for 159 yards, 4.1 yards per carry. This was about exposing and taking advantage of the opponent's weakness. The Niners did that, and they got to the target number for the carries that they wanted to get to in this game. This offense is just so much better and different when it is more balanced, when they can find success on the ground. When they become pass happy, they're not as good, not as explosive, more predictable, easier to defend, and it doesn't help when you're without the likes of Ricky Pearsall and Brandon Ayuk. Another reason, though, why the Niners are such a fascinating team right now, 6-3. Make a move for a pass rusher. It improves your pass rush. Hopefully it helps you out in stopping the run. It makes the rest of the defense's job easier, thus making this Niners defense on the back end better. You can get Brandon Ayuk back. You can get Ricky Pearsall back. And can you build on a game where you move to 6-3, 6-1 in the NFC, where you drop 34 points by getting some really talented reinforcements back? And through the air, I really liked what I saw from Mac Jones. And let's take a moment to talk about Mac Jones. It is November 2nd. Halloween was on Friday. Daylight savings at 2 p.m. or 2 a.m. Eastern last night, right? Mac Jones has started 7 games for San Francisco. What would you say if I told you that on November 2nd, Mac Jones has started 7 games for the Niners? What would you say? You'd probably say when this signing was made, season over. But because of the elite coaching and play calling from Kyle Shanahan, because of Mac Jones resurrecting his career, because of him looking within himself, looking in the mirror, and improving himself as a player, as a person, as a leader, and him playing really well this year, he's not an MVP candidate, of course, but he's been one of the most valuable Niners. Mac Jones, ladies and gentlemen, has gone 5-2 as the Niners starter. You want to tell me wins and losses aren't a quarterback stat? Get the F out of here. That's baloney. Mac Jones has been a big reason why the Niners have won those 5 games. Up until last week, he was leading the NFL in passing yards per game. So don't tell me he's been carried when he's been throwing to Kendrick Bourne as his number 1 wideout. He has run Kyle Shanahan's system very well. He's played point guard. He's distributed the ball. He's been really good on third downs. He's made some explosive plays downfield. Today, I believe the Niners were 4 of 5 in the red area. And another constant with what he does in the pass game for the Niners, how many different guys get involved? That's the point guard element that I speak of. How many guys caught a pass today? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different players caught a pass. 9 players were targeted. McCaffrey, 5 catches for 67. Jawan Jennings, 4 for 41. Both those players had a touchdown. Kendrick Bourne, 2 catches for 34, along of 21. George Kittle, 4 catches for 32. Sky Moore caught a seam ball for 21 yards. Jordan Watkins, hello, 1 catch for 19. Kyle Juszczyk, 1 for 12 on a great design, a fullback screen. And then Luke Farrell caught 1 catch for 9. So it's not just players getting involved. It's players making the most of their opportunities. Mac Jones finding them. But all those players who caught a pass, they picked up chunks of yardage with those opportunities. So 5-2 for Mac Jones. What a job. What a job. And you know it's always good when Adrian Martinez can come in and go in the victory formation and kneel this game out. His first snap as a Niner, putting this game on ice. All right, more to get to here for our post-game reaction show. But let's get to our sponsor, Prize Picks. This episode of the 49ers Report made possible thanks to our legends at Prize Picks. The hard-hitting football action is even better with Prize Picks. The weather might be changing, but the feeling of being right, it never gets old. So keep the season rolling on Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. This is America's #1 fantasy sports app. Pick, predict, and play. Available in 45 states across America. I know you all know ball. I want you to show me by turning your takes into cash with Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. Choose more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. You can win some big-time money. Our 3-pick power play, Christian McCaffrey more than 45.5 receiving yards. Check, he had 67. Jackson Dart more than a half passing touchdown. That's a win. Now, we picked George Kittle fine in the end zone, but sometimes you can go you could go 2 for 3, and you can still get your dubs. Prize Picks is also the only app that offers stacks. You can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. So download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Bad news here. Kyle Shanahan worried that Mykel Williams suffered a torn ACL in his left knee. 4 minutes left to go in the game. He tried to sack Jackson Dart, wrapped him up around his ankles, and as he went down, wasn't really hit. It could have just been the MetLife turf getting another victim. May have torn his ACL. More testing required for a full diagnosis, but Shanahan said there is concern about it being an ACL injury. You just can't make it up, man. That would be Nick Bosa out ACL. Mykel Williams out ACL. Yetur Gross-Matos re-injured his hamstring out. Bryce Huff hopefully can come back, but he's out with a hammy. You got a sack from Cleveland Ferrell today. I thought Keon White did some good things in his Niners debut today, but now you need to make another move for a pass rusher. You just need to. You just need to. Can you leave New York with Kayvon Thibodeau? That would be big. The Bears beat the Bengals. Cincinnati loses again. Cincinnati, according to reports, willing to trade Trey Hendrickson. Is that a player who you can bring in? Hendrickson's been dealing with a hip injury, but it's not believed to be a long-term injury. I don't think he played today. And if he didn't, is that because the Bengals are thinking about dealing him? He's not under contract beyond this year. And you had a feeling when Mykel Williams was coming off the field, him shaking his head, very distraught, that it could have been his ACL. This is just crazy, unbelievable, and ridiculous. But for the Niners at this point, they just continue to be the most injured team in all of football. And now how does that impact the future of your top pick who you just drafted? 11th overall. Not really a quick and twitchy player, relies on power a lot, and now may have torn his ACL. Now on defense, I thought the Niners did a pretty solid job today. Bend but not breaking really has been the motto and the strategy for San Francisco. And they gave up some yards today. They gave up some big plays. The first drive of the game, it looked very reminiscent of what happened against Houston. Couldn't stop the run, explosive plays in the pass game, couldn't get after the quarterback, couldn't get off the field, and the Giants went right down the field. 15-yard touchdown from Jackson Dart to Theo Johnson. He threw a big stiff arm on Deommodore Lenoir. And while the Niners gave up that 9-play drive a week after they gave up a bunch of long drives, last week the Niners offense couldn't respond by balancing it out. And in turn, the defense got tired. They wore down. Well, I thought the Niners offense did a great job of responding to that opening drive that the defense gave up for that touchdown, and they scored touchdowns on their next consecutive drives. Mac Jones at one point started this game 10 of 10 when he found Jawan Jennings for that touchdown. I think he started the game maybe 12 of 12. He was on a heater to start this game. And so playing balanced, I thought, was huge. And then after the Niners had a little bit of a lull on the offensive side of the ball, they score 3 points in the third quarter. They score 14 in the fourth. Christian McCaffrey found the end zone, and before that, Brian Robinson. Again, when this offense can play balanced, they're just so much better. Tatum Bethune, 16 tackles, 8 solo, a pass breakup. Upton Stout, 6 tackles, 4 solo, a TFL. Renardo Green, 2 pass breakups in this game. Jair Brown had a big pass breakup in the end zone. The Niners, as a team, 4 PBUs, 3 quarterback hits, 2 sacks, 1 for Sam Okawanu, 1 for Cleveland Ferrell. But now you might be without Mykel Williams, who is a really good run defender. Didn't really do much in this game. Had a quarterback hit. The quarterback hit that he had, I think, may have been the play where he tore his ACL. Potentially, if it's confirmed. But the Niners win today. 34-24. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We always have you covered with Elite Niners coverage right here on the show. And as always, thank you so much for supporting and hanging out.